Hello all you lovely photographers and filmmakers out there. It's your boy Limitless and I welcome you all wholeheartedly to another episode of the Foto Friday. So in the very first episode, we discussed the basics of photography, the exposure triangle. And now in the second episode, we will be discussing the different formats in photographs are captured in digital cameras. Let it be DSLRs, mirrorless cameras or drone cameras. So there are two prominent formats. The very first one is RAW and the second one is JPEG. Now if you are taking pictures on some basic devices, for example mobile phones and some simple cameras, then most probably you only have one option and that is JPEG format. However, if you are shooting with a professional device like drone cameras, mirrorless cameras or DSLR cameras, then you have an option to choose between RAW files or JPEG files. Now the question comes, which one is better for you? Which one you should prefer during what time? And now I know a lot of you might be thinking it's obvious that we should choose RAW all the time because it has all the details, it retains all the details. Even if the shadows are very much dark, still the details are there, and at the same time if the photo is overblown, overexposed, still we can get all those details back. Yes, my dear friend, you are right there. I understand, I empathize with you, but there are certain times when I would say that it is better to use JPEG. But before that, let's discuss what is RAW file and what is JPEG and how they are different. So first of all, I would like to say, see, a RAW file has an indestructible nature while JPEG doesn't has that indestructible nature, and that is the very first thing that makes the difference. I mean, if you want to compare RAW file with film photography, a RAW file is somewhat very similar to the film negatives. I mean, if you have a film negative, you can constantly print and make photographs out of them time and again. While in the same way, see, RAW files are not visible photographs on your computer devices straight out of the box. All you got to do is first install some editing software like Lightroom and then go inside and then import those Lightroom files, and then only you can edit those files or even display those files. While at the same time, JPEG files can be easily opened on any device. This was the very first difference. But you know what is the benefit of RAW file here? See, now out of RAW file you can make as much copies out of it as you want, and then you are free to use it openly in different possible ways. But however, at the same time you can't make similar copies of a JPEG file because every time you edit it, it gets weaker and it gets much more broken at the same time. I hope you are getting what I'm trying to say right now. And then after that, the second difference between them is that RAW file holds a lot of detail in its shadows and highlights. I mean, let's consider you are a beginner photographer and you don't know much about exposure triangle, which by the way you should know. But still, if sometimes in heat of the moment you're clicking pictures and then when you come back to your home and open it in Lightroom and then you see, oh god, that's really overexposed, then what to do with this picture? I would say that if you have shot a really nice RAW file, then there are higher chances that even a worst overexposed picture can be retained and details could be brought back, and even the shadows, there are a lot of details there. While at the same time, if you have taken that picture in a JPEG format, not all the details would come back, and the details which would come back perhaps wouldn't bring that best of the possibilities. While at the same time, when those shadows and those highlights would meet at the mid-tones, there would be kind of certain kind of noise which you won't enjoy in a JPEG format, while at the same time in RAW format there will be a complete detail in a picture. So what I'm trying to say in simple jest is that a RAW file has much more detail, and to show that, let me open this file which I've shot both on RAW and JPEG and show you. So here it is. Let's start with it. Yeah. So here is a RAW file and this one is a JPEG file. Now they look pretty much similar, but let me show you. Now as you can see, this is a RAW file. Okay, now let me increase the shadows. Okay, here this much is enough. Let's increase a little bit, 100. Now as you can see guys, that however there is too much grain, but still the shadows have completely been retained. The detail have been brought back, while at the same time if I do this to this JPEG file, let's do it here. I mean, if you go into the details of the subject, see, I mean, still it's dark here, while at the same time the details are crystal clear here. It shows much more detail in the subject. So that's what I'm trying to say guys, that if you have a RAW file, it's much more beneficial. But now in the end, I would like to talk to you guys that when should you choose RAW file and when should you choose JPEG. Now see, I understand that RAW file has a lot of detail, but there are some times when you should choose JPEG files. For example, you are a journalist, photographer, newspaper photographer, or someone who has to take pictures very fast and then send at the same time to the office. I would say JPEG files are meant for you, my dear friend. Or while at the same time you are going out on a big tour with one memory card in your bag, and then you suddenly realize, oh, would this memory card would last, I mean, with all the RAW files that you are taking right now? Because if RAW files hold a lot of details, then you have to understand that those details can only be held with huge amount of space taken by that picture. Hence, if you're going on a long tour and taking pictures, a lot of pictures, then I would say that it is preferable to use JPEG. And even in wedding photography, that's another example, that during that time you would be taking plenty of pictures, and during that time I would highly recommend that you should shoot these pictures in JPEG format. That is my recommendation guys. And at the same time, if you want all the details to be retained, then I would say that if you are a professional photographer like me who just likes to enjoy the composite process in Lightroom, then I would say that it is highly recommended for you guys to use RAW files. Rest, the decision is upon you. You are the good person to choose what is best for you. I hope this video helped you in some way possible. I hope it provided you value. If it did, consider hitting the like button for more photography tutorials like this, because I will be bringing photography tutorials every Friday, filmmaking tutorials every Monday, and Lightroom tutorials every Wednesday. So please consider subscribing. What are you waiting for? And share this with your photography friends. I'll see you in the next one. Till then, enjoy, have fun, and peace.